let me answer your most commonly asked questions and concerns about speaking to attract more patients in the door. This is Chen Yen, your 6- and 7-figure practice makeover mentor at Feel My Holistic Practice, saying hello to you from Aruba. So one of you wrote in saying that I often feel like there are more knowledgeable people out there and question my own abilities of what I have to offer, and it tends to come up more when in the idea of speaking, especially because what if you end up showing up like you don't really know what you're talking about. So one of the most helpful things is to think about how you know so much more than most people know about what you've gone to training for, what you've gone to school for. And that in its own can offer people value. The other thing is that if you feel this sense of, oh my gosh, I'm a fraud, or especially if you're interested in perhaps getting referrals from medical doctors and other practitioners, and you're a little concerned about what if they were to ask you questions and then you didn't know the answer to it. And a big part of it is to just remember that you're not always expected to know everything. It's just about how you show up in those moments of when people ask you a question. And people and providers, medical doctors, they can sense the level of confidence that you have. So if you aren't sure, then you can always let them know, let me look into this and then get back to you on it. So certainly be as prepared as possible as well in those kinds of situations, and you'll be all good there. Something to keep in mind too, if you ever feel like other people just know more and you need to get to a certain point of knowing more before you can start talking about it and help educating about it. Just remember that is really just something you're making up in your head, because the truth is that people aren't benefiting from your knowledge by you keeping your mouth shut, by you not sharing it with people. Those are just the things that you're telling yourself in your head that other people likely won't notice it until you actually are unless you are in a place where you are really self-conscious about it. So just keep that in mind too. One of you wrote in to me saying that I'm scared to do a live talk. Better recording it before. So the thing about doing a live talk, I totally get it. Some of you also wrote in, here's one of you wrote in, I'm an introvert and not comfortable talking to large audiences, and then how do I overcome shyness and how do I come across confident when talking about my profession? And I totally get this because I used to feel really self-conscious about speaking. And when I was little, on Sunday mornings, I used to be thinking about how, I was a little jealous of other kids because when they got I imagine that when they got the Sunday paper, they would get to check out the comics, right? This is when I was about 8 years old. Sunday came for me, I dreaded it because why? My dad had me do this current event talk go to look in the newspaper and then go create a current event talk and do it every Sunday. And I just felt so much performance anxiety. My dad was very strict, and he's a PhD scientist, research scientist engineer, and his style of speaking is really different from mine. It's very rigid, he's very analytical, and so he critiqued me to the point that I would cry, and almost like an every week kind of a feeling that I remember. And I used to think to myself, I will never speak in front of a group of people if I could help it. But then what got me interested in speaking was I was always into teaching. The reason that I actually ended up speaking is because I've always loved teaching. You know, when I was little, I would get the kids in the neighborhood and then get these worksheets from my 3rd grade teacher and then and then give it out to the kids because I thought that was fun, you know, always into teaching. So, but that's what led me to learn how to speak to help more people at once. And I wasn't very good at it at first. I carried that kind of anxiety all the time with me. I would get on stage and my heart would beat really fast. I would forget what I wanted to say. And I was so anxious to the point where I would literally get on stage or wherever I was speaking, even if it wasn't on stage, say things that didn't make any sense at all. And I would feel so embarrassed. You know how that feeling that just of dread just comes over you, and that's what I experienced. And I just felt so embarrassed and wanted to hide and feel like I could just melt and not be there. So the reason I bring this up is that if I can go from a place being really anxious to now speaking in front of audiences where speaking nationally, then you can totally do it too. So it's something that can be learned, and it helps to just start off with connecting with what's close to your heart and just start sharing. Even if you feel nervous, even if you feel like you just made a fool of yourself, you have done something that can help people, and you will get better as you have more experience with it. One of the things that I would actually say is a mistake that many acupuncturists, chiropractors, naturopathic doctors, and functional medicine practitioners make when they are doing talks, with also the intention of not only educating people but also inspiring new patients to come from it, is this idea of making jokes and in the beginning and that kind of thing. Because have you ever gone to a talk before and the person who spoke started off with a joke? So how did you feel? You might have thought it was funny, or maybe you didn't get the joke. And then what happens? So when you're sitting in the audience and when you're listening, many times you're still trying to check out if it makes sense for you to pay attention, if it makes sense for you to just leave or do something else with your time. So if you are starting out with a joke, even if it may be funny, the audience is still trying to decide whether to pay attention to you or not. So making a joke can be good for something like a motivational speech, but it may not be as useful in a situation or as helpful in a situation when you are speaking to inspire new patients to come from it. Instead, what do? So it's going to be helpful for you to be able to start off your talk in such a way that is engaging and draws people in right from the start. There are a few avenues of how to do that. One way that I help my clients with and teach my clients in our 6-figure speaking makeover mentorship for introverts is to connect with what is most frustrating for your audience in terms of their frustrations, their challenges with their health issues, and start off by asking a question related to that. So have you ever felt such and such and such, or do you ever find yourself ... That way you're really more connected with what the audience is dealing with instead of just making a joke. So don't worry if you don't like making jokes. You don't need to be making jokes. In fact, it'll likely be more useful for you to start off your talk without making a joke if you have the intention of also attracting patients to your from your talk or your webinars. So with that, hope these few tips so far today have helped you. And oh, here's another fish. Let's see, that one's a big one. Oh, let's see here. See that? See that fish there? Right there. Oh, it's going so fast. I hope you can see the fish. Oh, here's another. Is that another one? 2 of them. So for practical tips on how to actually attract more patients virtually right now through speaking. See, one of the things about educating people is instead of having to market and then try to reach people one by one, that can be really exhausting, right? Instead of doing that, or also especially right now, what if your hands end up being more tied to where you're more limited with in-person marketing, or maybe you just would like to have more flexibility and another avenue that works to grow your practice instead of having to spend money on SEO or ads, or it not working very well right now, like in terms of getting new patients. One great avenue to bring patients in the door is by speaking. And so, but how can you do that virtually? What are some strategies that are working right now to be bringing patients in, and even another stream of income through speaking? So I go over that in my free masterclass, and you can check it out coming up here. So you can go to www.getbookedspeaking.com/virtual. So go to www.getbookedspeaking.com/virtual. So see you on the free masterclass. Click on the link, sign up for it right now, and then see you on the masterclass.